This story is titled, "My Sister Despised Me for Not Going to a Good College." But when her friend asked me to sign a book, my sister called me to repair the relationship because of my success. I'm 24, and it's been 3 years since I have not spoken to my older sister, who's 26. When we were little, we were very close. We did everything together, and I used to look up to her a lot. But that all changed when we got to college. She went to a prestigious university, and I couldn't get into any institution at the same level. Not getting in was devastating. So, I went to a community college to clear my head and figure out my next steps. From that moment, things between us were different. As my sister was in a prestigious university, she began to act differently. It wasn't overnight, but it quickly became clear that she was ashamed of me. At first, I tried not to let it affect me. She was in a new environment, meeting all these successful and high-achieving people, and I thought maybe she just needed time to adjust. But things only got worse. Every time I talked about my school, she would give me this condescending smile. It was like she was trying to be polite, but she didn't really care. She made passive-aggressive comments about how I shouldn't settle for community college, and even suggested I should aim for something better. It hurt me, but I tried to ignore it. Over time, she started acting like I wasn't good enough for her anymore. At family events, she barely spoke to me, and when she did, it was like she was doing me a favor. I remember one time she introduced me to one of her friends as only a relative. She was genuinely embarrassed to admit we were sisters. I could only bear so much. By then, I was already very hurt. I tried to talk to her about how she made me feel, but she would constantly shut me down or blame me for being too sensitive. This went on for a while, and she never held back in admitting that she was embarrassed because I hadn't achieved as much as she had. The final straw happened at a party she invited me to, which I now realize was probably out of pity. It was 3 years ago, and she had just graduated. She wanted to celebrate with her college friends, and I guess she thought it would be nice to include me. Everyone in attendance was from her Ivy League group, and from the beginning, I felt out of place. They were talking about things I didn't understand. I tried to fit in, but I think everyone realized I didn't belong there. At some point, I drank a little and got drunk. I thought I would join in on one of the games they were playing, but I ended up spilling a drink on one of her friends accidentally. Her friend kept screaming that I had ruined a $500 dress. Obviously, I was horrified and very embarrassed. I couldn't stop apologizing to her over and over again, but that wasn't enough for my sister. She completely lost control in front of everyone. She called me pathetic and said she was sorry for being my sister. It was like she finally had the chance to let me know how ashamed she was of me. I admit that I was at fault that night. I shouldn't have drunk so much. Although it's not an excuse, I only drank that much because of how anxious I was. That said, I don't think I deserved everything my sister said. After that incident, my sister completely cut off communication with me. She deleted my number, blocked me on social media, and refused to talk to me. I tried to contact her many times over the past few years to apologize, but she never responded. She even told my mom that she didn't want to hear from me and that she actually wanted me to disappear from her life. My mom has always tried to get us to talk again. Every time there was a family event, she would ask me to try to make up with my sister. For 3 years, my mom begged me to attend my sister's birthday parties, but out of respect for my sister's wishes, I didn't go. My mom kept reminding me that my sister was family and that family was important. But the truth is, my sister never wanted to see me. If it had been up to me, I would have talked to my sister a long time ago. I didn't want my sister to hate me more than she already did, so I stayed away. However, this year, my mom begged me more than usual. She said that my sister had softened and that maybe this time it would be different. My mom was very excited about the idea, and I must admit that I missed my family. I hadn't seen them together in years because my sister avoided any event I was invited to. I thought that maybe things could finally be different, so I agreed to go. I decided to arrive with a peace offering and hope for the best. I wanted to show my sister that I wasn't the same person she thought I was. So, I bought her a very expensive designer handbag, $1,000, to be exact. It was a gift that I couldn't have afforded before, but now that I'm a writer and doing well, it was a meaningful peace offering. After years of hard work, I self-published a book that has been quite successful. I thought the gift could be a way to show her that I had made it and that maybe she would no longer look down on me. When I arrived at the party, It was clear from the start that nothing had changed. The moment my sister saw me, she gave me that look of disgust. She didn't say much at first, but the vibe was very uncomfortable. Barely 2 minutes had passed since I arrived when my sister asked in a very loud voice so that everyone could hear her, "Who invited her?" Unfortunately for me, she didn't stop there. She continued, only this time she walked towards me while everyone was watching us. Then she announced loudly, "A community college trash, like you could never fit in here." It was so humiliating, and I felt all the confidence I had built up over the years basically crumble to the ground. I stood there, trying with all my might not to cry, while actively wishing I hadn't come. My sister walked away from me at that point and went back to her group of friends. I thought it was time to go. It was clear I wasn't welcome, and I didn't like being publicly humiliated. I waited one more minute for everyone to start talking amongst themselves before I headed toward the exit. But just before I could get there, one of my sister's friends came up to me and told me that she knew me. At first, I thought she was confusing me with someone else, but then she started talking about my book. She had read it and even had a copy with her. She asked me to sign it, and I was completely shocked. My book had become quite popular, but I never thought that someone at my sister's party would know about it. I signed her book, and suddenly the atmosphere changed. My sister's attitude changed completely. She went from ignoring me to acting like we were best friends. She started introducing me to her guests as the genius behind that book, and it was so fake I didn't know what to do. Clearly, now she only cared because her friend was impressed by my success. I played along to avoid causing more drama, but inside I felt so betrayed. I stayed a little longer at the party until it became too awkward, and I left. My sister had started acting like nothing had happened, as if she hadn't spent the last 3 years without any contact with me. Since her birthday party, she has been bombarding my phone with calls and messages, basically asking me to go out and be sisters again. She keeps saying how proud she is of me and that we should reconnect. I haven't responded to her messages, and it's been a week since she started texting me every way possible. Honestly, I miss being in a relationship with her, but it's hard to forget how she treated me when she thought I was nobody in her eyes. Now she just wants me to be in her life because I've been successful, and I don't like that at all. I mean, I'm family, right? Why should a career define how she treats me? So, that's my story with my sister. I know a lot of people here have their own stories, so I decided to share mine. Update 1. I wanted to update you on what's happened since my original post, and I can already tell you it's been quite a journey. First, some of you asked about my decision to not have contact with my sister. You are right, it was not an easy decision, but it was not something I decided lightly. After that incident at the party where she called me out in front of her friends, I tried for a long time to get closer. I sent messages, tried to call, and even asked my mom to help us fix things. My sister made it clear that she was not interested. She blocked me everywhere, locked me out, and even involved our family. She basically forced our family to choose between us because she refused to attend any family events if I was present. Eventually, I decided not to attend those events so that at least my family could meet and enjoy time together. That doesn't mean I never saw them, obviously, but I just stopped going to family barbecues. For the next 3 years, at some point, I stopped trying to get close to my sister because I felt humiliated. I thought, why keep reaching out to someone who doesn't want me around? So that's how I decided to have no contact, not because I didn't care, but because I wasn't going to keep hitting the same wall. Many of you also asked why I decided to go to her birthday party after 3 years of no contact. To be honest, it was my mom. She had been begging me for years to attend, and kept saying that maybe my sister would change if I just showed up. I didn't want to go out of respect for the boundaries my sister had set, but this time my mom made it sound like my sister had really changed. I gave in because a part of me hoped my mom was right. I wanted to believe that things could finally be different. It turned out they weren't. Finally, several of you asked about that party where I spilled a drink on her friend. Many think I left out details, but literally that was it. I was so nervous about spending time with my sister and her friends because she had spent the last 4 years talking about how amazing they were while actively telling me how trashy I was in comparison. Not to mention that all her friends came from pretty influential families, and my sister and I come from a middle-class family. I know I shouldn't have had that much to drink, but you also have to keep in mind that I had just turned 21 at the time, and I figure it wouldn't hurt to relax a little. I never wanted to ruin the party or embarrass my sister in any way. I've always felt really bad about that day, and believe me, I did everything I could to show my sister how sorry I was. A lot of you said that my sister's reaction was exaggerated, but I don't know what to tell you. I guess she's always been a little dramatic. Anyway, after that disaster at the party, I decided not to immediately respond to my sister's messages. I needed time to process everything. I mean, she treated me like garbage for years, and now, all of a sudden, she wanted to get closer just because one of her friends recognized me from my book. I didn't like that very much. I eventually sent her a text thanking her for being nicer at the party, ironically, but I also told her that I didn't feel comfortable jumping right into a sisterly relationship just because she stopped thinking I was a loser. I told her I didn't want to rebuild a relationship just because she now cared about my success. Apparently, that message didn't sit well with her. My sister called our mom to complain that I was ignoring her and being difficult. Then my mom called me and said that I couldn't be like that with my sister since she really wanted to fix things. I told my mom that my sister might want to fix the relationship now, but only out of self-interest. My mom told me that I shouldn't worry about things that were left in the past and that this was the perfect opportunity to rebuild our bond. I asked her where that energy was when my sister called me community college trash and ignored me for years. I told her that if even half the energy had been spent begging my sister to drop her resentment instead of asking me to attend events, maybe things wouldn't have gone this far. She went quiet and hung up quickly. A couple of days later, my sister showed up at my apartment unannounced. I hadn't even told her where I lived, so I guess my mom gave her the address. She had a lot of old pictures of us as kids and started talking about how much she missed me. It was really weird. She kept mentioning things like how she'd been thinking about us a lot lately and how we were always meant to be close. But the more we talked, the weirder it all got. She kept bringing up the topic of my income and casually mentioned how successful I am now. She asked a lot of questions about how much I make from my book and if I had any other projects in mind. It seemed like the conversation had more to do with what I could do for her with my new finances than with reconnecting and repairing our relationship. Then she started hinting that we could start a family business together because she has great ideas and I am very talented. That's when I knew for sure that something was up. I felt uncomfortable and I didn't want to deal with her anymore, so I made up an excuse about having to finish some work and managed to get her out of my apartment. Since then, I have not heard from her directly, but my mom has not stopped calling, trying to get me to give my sister another chance. At this point, I don't know what to do. One thing was my sister when we were little girls, but the person she has become is not interested in me, only in what I can offer her now that I am doing well. I have no intentions of repairing a relationship that I did not destroy. But, as happens to many in this subreddit, relationships with siblings are not always the easiest ones. Thanks again for all your support. I'll keep you posted if anything else happens. Update 2. It's been about 2 weeks since my last post, and somehow, my sister has outdone herself again. About a week after her surprise visit, I started receiving direct messages from people, mostly mutual acquaintances, and some of her friends. These were people I hadn't spoken to in years, and suddenly, they were writing to me about how excited they were about this new business my sister and I were supposedly starting together. Some even congratulated me, saying they couldn't wait to see what we would build and that they wanted to be the first to invest. I was completely baffled. I had no idea what they were talking about. I assumed there must be some kind of misunderstanding, so I asked a few people what they meant. That's when I found out that, apparently, my sister had been telling people we were starting a business together, something creative and modern, like a lifestyle brand or a product line based on my book. She told them that I would handle the creative side because I was so talented, her words, not mine, and that she would handle marketing and sales because she is very good with people, which made me burst out laughing. I even got a message from someone asking if I was already accepting pre-orders for this upcoming release. I was stunned. Not only had I never agreed to anything like that, but I had also never remotely hinted that I was interested in starting a business with her, or in that field. And now, all these people thought we were already deeply immersed in the planning. I was beyond frustrated. I mean, who goes around making these kinds of announcements without even having a conversation? I decided to confront my sister via text because I didn't think I could handle a face-to-face conversation with her after the last time. Even though it was over text, I wanted to be clear and direct because I needed to put an end to this quickly. I asked her what she was doing and told her it was not okay to tell people we were starting a business when I had never agreed to anything. But instead of apologizing or even acknowledging what I said, she just brushed it off as a minor thing. She told me that she was just spreading the word to generate hype and that I was overreacting. She went on about how this was a great opportunity for both of us and how much money we could make if we worked together. She didn't seem to care that I was upset or that she had crossed a major boundary. She just spoke about the potential success we could have and how I was being unreasonable for not seeing the great opportunity we had. At that point, I was getting tired of her and her nonsense. I told her I wasn't interested and that she needed to stop. A rational person would have respected that, especially since I made it very clear. But instead, she gave me a guilt trip. She said I was holding on to the past and being selfish for refusing to rebuild our relationship through this amazing business opportunity. She even accused me of being mean and spiteful, saying I was too focused on old stuff, her words. The irony of her statement was almost laughable, considering our old stuff boiled down to her ignoring me and treating me like garbage because I didn't have the same life experiences as her. I wasn't about to let her guilt trip and shame me into doing something I didn't want to do. I told her I needed space and asked her very clearly to stop contacting me. I thought that would be the end of it, but of course it wasn't. The next day, she sent me a ton of emotionally charged messages that essentially accused me of wasting the opportunity to repair our relationship. She also dragged my mom into it again, saying I was breaking her heart by being such a spiteful sister. By that point, I was exhausted, both mentally and emotionally. I had tried to be polite and patient, but my sister refused to respect my boundaries. The only reason she wanted to rebuild our relationship was because she saw an opportunity to make money for herself. And yet, somehow, I was the resentful one? If we had any semblance of a relationship, or if she had genuinely tried to repair things before finding out that her friends knew me, I wouldn't have had an issue working on a project with her. But she did none of that. Instead, she tried to be fake and manipulate me. I couldn't keep listening to her blame and shame me, so I blocked her. I think there's no way for us to repair the relationship at this point. Until now, I have never heard a genuine apology from her. All she ever says is that we should leave the past behind, but she's not even capable of taking responsibility for her actions. She's just a person who wants something from me. If it weren't for my book, I would still be the same loser in her eyes. And that's all for now. If anything else weird happens, I'll keep you posted. I hope that's not the case, but with her, you never know. Update 3. Well, I thought I was done with this whole mess, but of course, things had to escalate again. About 2 weeks after I blocked my sister, I got a call from my mom. She sounded upset and told me that my sister had shown up at her house. Apparently, my sister was crying and saying that I was ruining her life. She had been telling everyone about this new business we were supposedly starting together, and had promoted it so much that now she was embarrassed because people started asking questions about it. She had no answers to give because, obviously, there is no business. She also claimed that she had put too much effort into this project and that I was being difficult to work with. I don't understand how my sister can feel she has the right to say she is working with me when we never have and never will. My mom was practically begging me to unblock her and at least talk to her. She said my sister was going through a really hard time and just needed my support. I told her my sister was being manipulative, and I didn't think she learned that at the great university she attended. Then I hung up. I am not responsible for the mess my sister has created by lying to people. I didn't even know about this supposed business until a few weeks ago. Then I found out through a mutual friend that my sister's situation was much worse than I thought. Not only had she promoted the imaginary business, but remember how in my last update I mentioned that some people even offered to lend me money as an investment? It turns out they did the same with my sister, and she actually took money from them without even telling me. She received money from friends, family, and acquaintances who believed in the big project we were supposedly starting. But she took that money, thinking she would get it back with our business, and spent it on herself. I don't know what she spent it on, but I doubt she now has the ability to pay it back. When people started asking questions about the business, she panicked. Without a project to show for the money she had raised, she blamed me for backing out and leaving her in limbo. She told everyone that I was the reason the business failed. This friend also told me that my sister had been having financial problems for a while. After graduating college, she didn't get the big job she was hoping for and has been jumping from job to job ever since. Turns out she's drowning in debt and just trying to keep up appearances. I guess that's why she was so desperate to get involved. She saw me as her way out. She didn't approach me because she missed me or wanted to make amends. She wanted me to rescue her. And when I didn't play along, she panicked. So when my mom called me again, because of course she did, she kept saying that my sister was in trouble and that I had the ability to help her. She said I had the power to help her and that my sister would be eternally grateful to me. But I was already tired of hearing the same excuses over and over again. My sister's bad time began when she went to college, and for some reason, she never got out of it. Not only did she get herself into trouble, but she made it her mission to drag others down with her. She didn't care about hurting the people close to her. She just wanted to make sure she kept her image intact. I spent years feeling like garbage over that incident at the party, where I spilled a drink on her friend. I've read hundreds of comments since then, and I've realized it wasn't as big of a deal as my sister made it out to be. She just made me feel so bad about myself that I couldn't tell the difference between right and wrong. She cut off all contact with me over, literally, a spilled drink. So this time, I didn't let my mom talk too much. Instead, I interrupted her and said straight out that I was not going to let myself be used, no matter how much they tried to make me feel guilty. I reminded my mom of how terrible and abusive my sister had been. I told her about how my sister completely ruined my self-esteem for years just to feel better about herself. And now, after all of that, I asked my mom if she really expected me to be the one to clean up my sister's mess. There was no way that was going to happen. I also told her that if she was so worried about my sister, then she should be the one to help her, not me. My mom kept trying to pressure me, but I think, at that moment, I reached my limit. I told her that if she didn't stop trying to make me feel guilty to fix this for my sister, I would block her too. I said we'll see if she cares more about being blocked by me or continuing to insist on her case. She wasn't happy about it, but I think she finally realized that I wasn't going to change my mind. I haven't heard from my sister since I blocked her. It's a shame that she's having problems, but it's not my responsibility to fix them, especially when she tries to drag me down with her. Thanks again for all the support and advice since the last update. I hope other people can also find answers to their problems with their siblings through my story. Edit. Someone has commented that I might write a book about my sister, both as a way of closure for this stage of my life and as a way to get something positive out of all the bad things she has done to me during this time. The truth is, it's a good idea. I have contacted that person to thank them. If that book ever sees the light of day, I will probably dedicate it to them for their great idea, since I hadn't thought about it before. If it ever happens, I'll come back to tell you all about my book. Update 4. It hasn't been that many years since I said I would write a book about my sister, but when you've experienced firsthand what you write, the words flow easier. So, it's been hard to write it, at least compared to my previous book. It hasn't been a bestseller, but it has sold well, which is enough for me to get financial compensation. It doesn't solve all my problems with my sister, but I won't deny that it makes them easier to bear. I have also compensated the person who gave me the idea, and I will not reveal the gift I gave them to respect their privacy since they asked me to, but I have tried to be very generous. To clarify, the book is not a completely true story about my sister, as many things were changed. For example, the incident with the spilled drink was replaced by another type of accident that the protagonist had, although the idea I sought to represent remained the same. The names and dates were also changed. Yet, when my book came out, my sister tried to sue me for basically everything she thought necessary. However, after a few months in court, she was unable to obtain any compensation. Some of her friends may suspect that the book is about her because they know who I am, and they can see some of her attitudes reflected in the character that represents my sister. But that is all. As for the money my sister owed, she is still paying her debts. She is lucky that family and friends have decided not to sue her and have been patient. Another person would have likely already taken her to court, much like she tried to do with me. However, I don't know how much patience these people will continue to have with her. Now, I am looking for the next book to write. This time, I want to change the concept and not make it about my sister. What do you think about this story? Have you ever experienced something similar, or do you know someone who has? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to hit the notification bell and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories.